Always great.
Excellent.
I love Ira. I've known Ira for a really long time.
Excellent.
He's good.
We are live, so welcome everybody to the Inbound Studio. I'm Laura Moran, your host, and I'm joined with Lena Waithe, actress, producer, screenwriter, Emmy award-winning writer. Thank you so much for being here with us at Inbound.
Thank you for having me.
Studio. That's a lot of titles. You've got a lot going on. How do you sort of balance all those different roles and bounce between one and the other?
You know, it's interesting because I think there's this sort of thought that people, maybe in my position, like that we just sort of do everything and we're just like have 8 hands and, you know, clones of ourselves. I have a really great team. It's a small team, but it's a really mighty one. I have 2 assistants, Raquel Baker, who's in the building right now, a second assistant, Mandana, who's amazing, and they both came to me through like Instagram and like interning and all that kind of stuff. Nice. So they really do act as the people who run, like I have a lot of mentees and things like that, and they do all of that because they've been there and they sort of operate it. And then I have a wonderful exec named Rishi who reads through everything before it gets to me. I have an awesome manager, Andrew Coles, my amazing team at WME. And then just people, you know, there's no project that I'm on where I'm a one-man band. Like there's like producers, there's showrunners, there's directors and things like that. So I'm really good at, you know, bringing on people that I trust and I love and I think are amazing, so that way I can let them do their job while I go do what I do. And but really, it's like scheduling is just sort of a shit show.
Fair.
But that is something I don't handle. Like people, it's seriously like I even do it with friends. Like they're like, hey, I'm like, I don't ask Raquel because, you know, like I could be out of town, I could be, you know. But also what we try to do is when I have a thing, like I'm filming a movie right now, I can't say what it is yet because it'll be out soon. But like when I'm on that set, yeah, during breaks I'll check my email, but I'm focused and locked in on that. When I'm on this other show, I can't say just yet, but the announcement will be out on the 10th. You know, I'm locked in and I'm paying attention to that. So I think what I try to do is when I'm doing a particular thing, I'm there 120%. And then when it's like, okay, and then I've gotten practice that, okay, I've been filming, it's like I'll be filming for like 4 hours and then I'll have a conference call about line producers on this project, or I'll have a call about directors for this show and this and that. And so I can divvy it up on a certain day. And then I'll have a call with my uncle, you know, who lives in Chicago about like advice about things and stuff like that. So it just sort of goes to territory. You're just like, your brain is just constantly moving and going. And so at the end of the night, you come home and watch Real Housewives of Potomac or something.
Yes, you do. We could have an entire Inbound studio about the Real Housewives.
Well, my fiance enjoys that kind of show, so
you don't, definitely not.
You know, I'm gonna try to be a good partner and go, okay, cool.
Fair enough. Well, obviously you've got a large team that does all that with you. How do you, or what do you look for in the people that you do work with to pick the right team and get the support that you need with everything you've got going on?
No, that's a great question. I mean, people that, you know, will put up with me and constantly asking for updates on things. I think that's really kind of what I feel like my job is most of the day. Like, where are we at on this? What's the update on that? And so I'm looking for people that don't stutter, but say, don't know, I will get an answer for you by end of day. You know what I mean? Like people that are just like, and also I like people who are like myself in that there is, you never take no for an answer. There's always a way. And that's a certain kind of personality. And there's some people that are timid and shy and are like, oh, how do I, you know, and my thing is always, no, you know, I have this thing I always say, I'm like, don't be afraid to show your teeth sometimes. And you don't have to do it often, but I always say, like, if there's a thing, like my assistant's like, oh, I can't get this done, or they're not getting me back, I'm like, then, or they're not responding to my email, I'll say, then call. Like I call it, like, then text. You know, like, and then it's like, okay, they hit me, so I'm trying to teach, like, if the one way doesn't work, then figure out another way to get, like, those are the kind of people I want around, that they won't come back to me with a reason why something isn't done yet. They're just gonna stay away until they figure out how they come back to me with an answer. So those are people I like to be around.
Where does that drive, like in you, where does that drive come from?
It's interesting. I recently told someone about this. It's like very random, and my fiance makes fun of me. I like this movie a lot, and it's like a very random movie, right? But I for some reason I found this inspiration in this exchange. So Y'all know the movie Troy?
Yes.
Okay, see, thank you. Okay, see.
I
So
slept through it in high
It's
school.
fine,
But
fair enough. I did not.
fair enough.
There's a moment at the beginning where this little boy is sent to go get Achilles to fight. And of course, Achilles is in bed with two women and like sleep and all that kind of stuff. So he comes out and the little boy is like, you got to go fight this guy for the king. And he says, and the little boy, and he's like, okay, you know, typical, I'll go do that. And the little boy's like, I wouldn't fight him. It's because I'm too afraid. Like, he's so scary. He's so big and intimidating. And Brad Pitt's character says, that's why no one will remember your name. So the drive is so that way that I don't want to be forgotten. Every step is like, I want to work so hard and make something that it was worth the sacrifice.
Absolutely.
So.
Speaking of maybe Troy or anything else, I know you've, but my point, you've talked about like taking inspiration from watching television, watching movies, and as, in particular as a kid growing up.
Yeah.
And I kind of wanted to ask about like, there's a lot said about screen time and don't sit in front of the TV and a TV shouldn't be a babysitter, but like you've drawn so much and have made so much out of time spent in front of the television. So I just wanted you to talk a little bit about that and like why and how that was such an inspiration for like your creative mind.
Yeah, well, and I watched a ton of different things. You know, I was just saying, like, I watched everything from Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead to, you know, Alex Haley's Queen to Amistad and Troy and Chicago and, you know, Mary Tyler Moore Show and Golden Girls and Murder, She Wrote and Matlock. Like so many things I was taking in. And I knew then that it wasn't just me watching television. I was digesting it. And I was really fascinated by it and what it could do. And the fact that it literally brought us together, you know, as a family. Like we were out, you know, I lived with my grandmother and my mom and my aunt would come over, like my sister. And the only way we could get in one room is on Thursday night watching the Cosby Show in a different world. It literally had the power and ability to make us come together and be in each other's presence. Yes, to watch a thing, but the thing that we were watching was like, it's funny because it wasn't a reflection of us. You know, we were working class, like black folks on South Side of Chicago, you know, living in my grandmother's home. But we still saw ourselves. And I think that that is very powerful. And I think I'm constantly trying to be a mirror for us. And, you know, and that's a very big, you know, it's a lot of pressure of like, am I getting it right and this and that. And the thing is, there's no one way to be black. There's no one way to be queer. There's no one way to be anything. And we do live in a space now where everybody's a critic. You know, everybody can talk about a thing. And that, I think, is a little messed up in terms of for artists, because we just need to be able to make stuff and not always get it right. But I love that I've created something that hopefully makes people want to gather to watch something. And even if it doesn't look like them, I want them to still see themselves.
Right. I mean, speaking of that a little bit, you know, as a member of traditionally underrepresented groups in media, what do you see as your role and your responsibility, but like specifically thinking of those as two separate things in creating and telling stories that do represent groups that have not had that fair share?
Right, well, I think to me, I understand the question, and I understand that. I think, but as an artist, when I sit down to write The Shy or the Thanksgiving episode or, you know, or Queen and Slim, this feature, I'm not sitting down thinking about the community as a whole. I'm sitting down thinking about this character, this scene, this response to this question that they have to answer. Like, what is the truth? What would this person really say? What would this person really do? You know, and I'm fighting between like that and the outline, what I had, and like, well, I wrote it that way there, but it makes more sense for her to leave here. So well, now I gotta, whatever, I'll figure that out later. But she gotta leave now. That's the honest thing. She would walk away in this moment, right now. That's what she would do. And I'm not thinking about being a queer black bitch from Chicago. I'm just like, is this the right moment? in this scene. Like that's what it boils down to. It's about these quiet moments that you want to last forever. And it's funny because on the plane ride here, I don't know, I watch like old random movies on planes. I was watching Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the original with Gene Wilder. And the moment when Charlie gets that golden ticket, like it still sent a chill
in your heart,
down my fucking spine.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's the bar to write a moment like that. That writer's not thinking about where they come from, what's going on. Whoever wrote that was like, I want people, because they know it's a thing. Like we've all wanted something really badly, that we could taste it. That the way he built it up, the work that he did to like, he literally, because I think I don't know if it's a rule of three, if he's open to already, you know, and then finally it's like that one. And like even you as an audience member is like, this ain't gonna happen. This ain't gonna happen for this cat. Like you need to give it up.
He's got dreams
like
and he's got it.
Like the writer has like convinced you like this motherfucker is like not gonna win in life. You know what I mean? You know, and it feels like your victory.
Yeah.
You become Charlie in that moment, you know? And it's like, and even like, you know, like in Pursuit of Happiness, like some people may be like, oh, it's a cheesy movie. When he gets the job in the end, like if
That's
you
it.
don't get a little emotional, like that to me is what I'm thinking about. I want to like, these are very like heartwarming moments.
Sure.
But, you know, I want people to feel something. And that is first and foremost. And because of the way I walk through the world, because I happen to be a brown person, because I happen to be a queer person, because I happen to have come up and be born where I was born and raised by the people I was raised by, then those things come into play. But I feel like as a writer, like it's my job to be a student of the world and of people and of human behavior. And I'm closer to the Black community. That's what I was a part of, and I know. And there's a language that we speak. There's a way that we react to things because of our history in this country, that there are things that we still do that are reminiscent of our ancestors that we aren't even aware of. And that's the shit I want to tap into and get into and make seamless. That when somebody can watch it, they go, oh yeah, I've said that. Or, oh, yep, I see that. That to me is the most amazing thing, when you can watch a thing and go, ugh, I see myself.
Yeah.
And it doesn't always have to be beautiful.
Right.
Because I think that's a place we got to a lot in Black cinema for a time, where everybody was contoured and the baby hair was just right. I like, you know, when we can just sort of like, and it's not fun, because you know it's not fun is looking in the mirror without makeup, right?
Yeah.
So to me,
I do know that.
although there's no makeup here because I'm a cliche lesbian bitch, but like, so and that's the interesting thing. I look at myself without makeup all the time, like constantly. You know.
Intentionally, you're saying.
Well, because that's not who I am.
Makeup.
Yeah, like so, that's another layer that I have, that I don't put a mask on every day.
Yeah.
Like I literally don't do it. Now that I have hair, I don't do that either.
Yeah.
So there's a freedom that comes with that and a knowing that comes with that maybe everybody doesn't have, that I use as definitely a tool in my toolbox, because I stare at myself in the mirror every morning and don't put anything on it. And so then when I go into scripts, I don't want to put anything on these characters' faces either.
Yeah. I feel like what we just talked about is a lot of like what you see in the world, what you see in the self through your eyes. Is there other elements of your creative process that are like less introspective and more about going and collecting ideas or thoughts or stories or experiences from elsewhere?
It depends. I don't always write there's fragments of myself and everything, but I tend to try to listen to the muse, you know, and say like, where do I go next? Like, what's the thing? And it's rarely me searching. It's the thing like ringing. It's the thing I can't get out of my mind, or the thing that keeps me up at night, or the thing I can't stop obsessing over for whatever reason. So those things are still, for whatever reason, if it's a thing in my head, or like the thing with the shy, like I was like, Like there's a lot, I was watching TV and seeing stories about like coming out of Chicago, and I was like, oh, as I was seeing reports, like, oh, they don't understand the people.
Right.
And that was like, oh, well, that's a show. I remember saying that in my apartment in the Valley, in LA. I was like, there's a show, and I know that's where I'm from. Like I instinctively know it. Like there's a thing that they're reporting on that they don't understand, and I don't understand it. And I think there's so many interesting characters that could be born out of that. And those characters are born out. I mean, I had an Uncle Ronnie. Like my mother's name is Laverne. Like my mother's first name is Ethel. Like I was like, then I put all that stuff in it. I grew up with a kid named Coogie, whose name I actually still do not know to this day. But like, who was alive and well, he's fine. Light skin with curly hair though. But like, so like those are things that like I can't help but draw from and like pull in. But I think ultimately, like I just really want to tell a truth. But that's the thing, truth looks different depending on whose mouth it's coming out of.
So how do you get, like, what is your process for all of that coming out of your head and getting onto paper or onto screen?
Yeah, you know what I do? I have dry erase boards in my office at home, like 4 of them, 4 big ones around. And that's what I do. I just beat stories out. I literally just like do a beat. I don't really do like lengthy outlines because I need freedom, the space to play. So I'll just do a beat, like we open on a girl in a bedroom that's very modest and she's on the phone. Her friend comes over, they have a conversation. You can tell that they're more than friends, but less than lovers. Her brother climbs in the window, like smoking a cigarette. He shares it with her and her friend, and then they get called downstairs to dinner, and then at the dinner table, you meet the father, and then her brother comes in, and you see the silence in the house is deafening, blah, 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 and then I'll write it.
Have you always been a storyteller? Like even like as a little kid?
Yeah, because I would have a day, and I would come home, and I would retell it. In my way.
In depth.
Yes.
I'm gonna guess like there was a lot of detail there.
Yeah, but that's what I do. I think in beats. I like a beat, a clean beat, like a girl on the phone in her room, and also too, and then like I was like, it's a rotary phone, so now I don't have to tell you, like, so now you know, oh, okay, so we're in a different time, like, and there's a girl, and she's, and I say like she's black, but it's evident that a master has dipped into one of her great grandmother's beds at some point. So now I'm telling you what kind of black she is. And I can write a scene in that. And then it's like, okay, then what are the words coming out of her mouth? What is she doing while she's on the phone? Is she like, and I was like, and I want to express that this person she's speaking to who ultimately comes over I want to get across that this is more than a friend. So she's rubbing her chest in a very suggestive way and things like that. So that's how I think in images, I think in beats, I think in moments, I think in moments of quiet, I think in letting characters, exist in a space that feels honest and real, just trying to create something just authentic. Yeah.
For the projects that you work on that you're not a writer for per se, and like it's not your story that's coming out, what do you look for in those in terms of stories that you want to get involved in?
I want them to haunt me.
Okay.
I don't, if I forget it after I've read it, then it's not.
Yeah.
Then I feel like it's not special. I want it to stick to my ribs. I want it to be something that I feel like changes the conversation. It's like if you read Get Out, like you go, oh, okay, this is a new outfit on an old body. Because we know that horror can be used to remind us of what we're really afraid of. And Jordan used horror as a way to show that Black people are in fear, always. Our life is like constantly running from someone trying to kill us. And that to me is like, oh, well, that changed the conversation. So I'm looking for things that, because there's no new stories. It's just a new way of telling it. And that is our artist's job. It's like, what's a new way into this? I think Ryan did a wonderful job of like, here's a new way to tell a story about a superhero. Barry Jenkins and Terrell Mulcahy did a beautiful way of, here's a new way to show what coming of age can look like when you're brown and you're gay and you're in the hood and you're in Miami and you don't know how to touch or be touched. And what masculinity is. Like, that to me is what's really exciting. It's like when I can see a voice And also like the way people, you know, the way you play on the page. Like the thing is like you guys, yes, you can, no one will never know what my action lines look like, except for the reader and the director. You know what the dialogue sounds like, but you don't know what the action lines are. And that's what great is about. That's the secret between myself and the writer. So action lines are, I feel, where writers can be themselves. And the dialogue is where you have to speak through the characters. You know, there was a thing I wrote in The Shy about, I knew we would start with a dead body. I was like, I want Cookie to happen upon a dead body and not be fazed by it. But just to describe to the reader, I said, whoever this boy was, he must have been special because he seems to make death look beautiful. That's for the reader. You know, that's for the director. You know, and I also said too, because can be a little crass, I was like, he is, you know, every teenage girl's favorite masturbation material. You know, like that's who he is.
Yeah.
And now he's gone. But Coogie's here and alive and taking his shoes because he no longer needs them.
Yeah.
And then you go into dialogue. So in that action lines, I've told the reader who I am, how I view him, and when the characters start to speak, then now I'm telling you who they are, because they're the star. I'm just your tour guide.
What is, there's so much going on with all of this, and like your brain must be going a million miles an hour as mine is listening to it. Are there aspects of all of this that are your favorite, and like are there aspects of the whole process that frustrate you to no end? Or is it all one thing?
I think the thing that can be frustrating is the business element of it.
Yeah.
Because the art is pure, business is not. So it's your job to make something artful and then protect it, but to know how to protect it. Because you don't want to protect it too much if it can be made better. But you also don't want your desire to be liked outweigh your desire to make sure you make something undeniable. And that really is the line. Like there are people that don't know how to play human chess. And if you don't know how to play it, then it'll be checkmate all day long. You gotta know when to show your teeth. You gotta know when to be Barack Obama. You gotta know when to be Malcolm X. You gotta know when to stop. Because that's the thing too. It's like that's a thing to learn for writers is like you have to know when to stop painting. Because if you don't, if you're like constantly doing a thing, you know, that's the thing I've learned is like where I'll be like, okay, this is it, this is the script, I'm done, and I'll step back. And I've gotten a place where with this new feature, Queen and Slim, that I know people are saying it's sort of a black Bonnie and Clyde. I think it's more of a heterosexual black Thelma and Louise. Because they kill a cop in self-defense and then go on the run. And it's after these two black people, it's their first date. And they get pulled over, things get a little heated, they kill him in self-defense, and they decide to go. And over the course of the movie, they fall in love. But the thing is that it's like, that is, I had to know, like, okay, I've written this in a way that's like, I was a vessel for this. And so when it went out into the world, they were like, yeah, whatever you want, if you want to make it, if this is what you want it to be, cool. But I wrote it in a way that was so, excuse the pun, bulletproof, that like, I'm like, you can try to
change
come
it,
at it, but it ain't gonna change. But I had written something, and I'm still clocking in my 10,000 hours, I feel, but I got into a place where I felt like, when I was writing that, I felt like Jordan in Game 6, where I was just like going. And when we put it out into the world, they were like, all these studios were like, we'll give you whatever you want, like to do, And for Melina to get the deal that she got, and for me to get the deal I got with Universal, and Donna Langley has been phenomenal, and Daniel Kaluuya is gonna be a phenomenal leading man, and we'll find whoever our queen is supposed to be. But I felt like, oh, I've earned the right to say like, this is the script. And I'll tweak things as needed, but at some point you have to get confident in your space and be able to do it. But not everybody, you know, you have to work to that space. I'm still working to it. I don't think that I know everything or that I've gotten it, but I know what I'm going for. I know I just have a thing where I'm like, yeah, that's it. Like I can tell when it leaves my fingers, it's going in, or if it's not.
Are there mentors or people that you've worked with that you particularly admire that have helped you learn some of those lessons or helped shape how to navigate this industry?
Well, it's funny. I've had a lot of. Well, I worked for a lot of people who were my mentors, whether they didn't knew it or not. Like I was like, you paying me to be be your mentee. You know, because I was an assistant on Mara Brock Akil's shows, The Game and Girlfriends, and then she got me a gig working for Gina Prince Bythewood on her film Secret Life of Bees, and I was a PA on Ava's first narrative film, I Will Follow, Ava DuVernay. And so the funny thing is, though, I'm a very different artist than all of them. You know, it's like I admire all of them and how they've moved through the world, but I also can look at their work and not feel bad that my voice doesn't sound like theirs. I think that's the thing that sometimes people have, they want to be like somebody else. And it's interesting because Gina and I have very different philosophies. Mind you, she came up on A Different World and like all that kind of stuff, so she came up at a very different time than I did, obviously. But she says, I want to write the world in which I want to live. And I want to write the world that I live in.
Which you live, yeah.
And both are fair. You know, I look at, it's like Boys in the Hood versus Menace to Society. I love both dearly. You can see the influences of Boys in the Hood and The Chi with the kids and all that kind of stuff. But what I love about Menace to Society is that they kill Kane. They kill the protagonist. Because that's what would have happened.
Right.
Like his choices that he did, every step he took was leading to his own demise. Trey gets out of the car when they're going to go kill the guy that killed his friend. To me, they're both valid, but there's something about Menace to Society that stays with me in a way that I can't shake, because there's a bravery in doing that. Not that Boys in the Hood is not brave, because it is, but Trey has a father, you know, a strong one. And you know, he's a good old boy. Like, he does the right things, and it's sort of like good kid, mad city.
Yeah.
Kane is a menace to his society, literally.
Yeah.
And there's a truth in that very few people are willing to tell.
Explore, yeah.
Yeah.
Knowing all the things that you know today, having had the experiences, having told these stories and made an impact and broken down some of the barriers that you have been able to have impact on, looking back, what advice, I guess, would you give to your teenage self?
To do exactly what I'm gonna do, which is, you know, make the mistakes, go really hard in the paint, and to not stop. Like, that's the thing. I never hesitate. I never am afraid to lean in. I'm never afraid to go run in the ring, you know, even if I'm bloodied and out of breath. Like, it's those that are willing to go to the death that are going to be remembered.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Inbound is a predominantly business audience. A lot of marketers, a lot of salespeople, customer experience. You're here with us on the studio. You were already on the main stage. If you had one thing that you wanted to leave this audience with after having spent the day here, what is that?
Well, I think it's a thing that I often try to leave people with, because I think it applies whether you're in the business or not. But it's that we all have been given a gift of some sort. I don't believe that there was a person that got missed on the assembly line when the gifts were being handed out. We just all have a choice. Either you can suppress it or lock into it. No one has special powers. I think there's an idea that people who are in the public eye do. It's the funny joke of like, we all have the same hours in the day that Beyonce has, you know what I'm saying? You know, what we tend to do with those 24 hours.
So many people
she does have a lot of people
her.
helping. But there's a thing that people who are great have in common, I think. And there's a level of obsession. There's a level of drive. But I don't think it's always about talent, you know, in a weird way. Because to me, the person who wants it more will get it before the person who maybe is better suited for it. So I think what I'm grateful for is that I was hyper aware of the gift that I had. And I just decided to grab it and hold it and forget everything else. Like, there are times where I can just like I can go all day without eating and like just be like writing and watching things and listening to music and because it is something that is outside of my body. And I think that when you're hooked into that, you feel like you're walking on hollow ground. And what saddens me is that most people have suppressed their gift. Most people have. They're working at jobs that they really don't want to be working at and doing things they really don't want to be doing to support a family that they kind of like, you know, they happened into. And that saddens me on one end, but on the other side, I kind of think, but everybody can't be Beyonce. You need to have an audience as well.
Absolutely.
So it's like, you know, you need the audience and you need the star. They both exist. You know, it's like one of my favorite documentaries is 20 Feet from Stardom, about these amazing background singers who never got their time in the spotlight. But the truth is the background singers are needed. They are valid. Without them, we have no hook. Now, they may feel like, but I want to be in the front, but both things are necessary. So it's either be in the front or be in the back, but wherever you are, be great at it.
Love it.
Yeah.
Last question. We ask everybody.
Cool.
What does inbound mean to you?
I think it means, you know, that you come into a thing open and willing to receive. And just even the term, like just being in anything is to be completely immersed in a thing. And I think there's nothing more interesting or more special than that. And technically, when you think of bound, you may think you're sort of being like contained or held down. But I think sometimes you kind of need to be contained for a beat, you know, in order to come out of it the other side. And I think also just in terms of my experience, I think it's one of just good energy and good vibes. But I think there's something about the word it just feels good because it feels positive. You know what I mean? It feels like a forward movement. And I think that is always a good thing, to always be moving forward.
I couldn't agree more. Thank you so much for joining us
Thank
here
you.
at Inbound on the studio. It's been fantastic having you and listening to you talk about your stories.
Thank you.
Can't thank you enough for being here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.